Are you a soul that finds itself, occupies itself in a body? Or are you a body that just happens to also have in it a soul? What's the primary being of your life? Are you more of a soul or more of a body? Is it that your body is a temple for the soul? Or are you really just a soul that happens to occupy itself in a body? How do you view who you really are? If you're motivated more by things of the body, then your soul becomes secondary. If you're motivated more by your soulfulness, then your body becomes secondary and your soul is primary. Welcome to Tanya Today. Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We're continuing our journey together, day in, day out. Beautiful journey that every day the Alter Rebbe gives us a new golden nugget of divine wisdom that gives us greater clarity in who we are, what life is all about, what proper relationships mean, and how to fulfill the purpose and what we were created for. We explained that God creates everything from his word. The word of God is what brings into existence, brings and animates everything in creation. Let there be light. Those words, Vahi Or, are the very letters, the very words that bring into existence and give the unique quality to light. Mayim, that word, water, the very letters, the very shape of the letters, the very significance of the letters, the very significance of the word itself, all of that is what animates water. Not it just animates, but brings it into actual existence from nothingness. But then there is the soul. The soul does not come from God's speech. It comes from God's breath, if you will, metaphorically. Just as speech is a metaphor for God, right? It's not like our speech. I mean, metaphorically it is, but not in physical sense. So the breath is where the soul comes from. As it says by Adam, V'yipach ba'apav nishmas chaim, that God blew into him the breath of life. And what does that metaphor mean? He blew a piece of himself. So when I speak right now, are you getting a piece of me? No, you're getting an awareness of me. You're not getting a piece of me. But if I blow into a balloon, right, my breath, does the balloon have my breath, which is a piece of me? Absolutely. So the soul is a piece of God. It's a piece of God that's breathed into us and is a part of us. It's what makes and exists, brings into its vitality the divine soul. This is what defines a Jew. And that part of God, what is it, the part? What is the breath? It's the name of God, the tetragrammaton, the Yud-K and the Vav-K. So we'll learn more about that, right? Those four letters are the very makeup of the soul that we're talking about over here, right? That God brings it into existence every moment, that soul, from that name, blowing in. What is the metaphor? Blowing is, again, it's from the very core of the person, right? Try blowing balloons. How many balloons can you blow? but you can talk and talk, because the power of talking is external power. It doesn't take much strength and effort, but to blow, because it's coming from a deeper place, takes a lot more effort. The metaphor is very simple. The soul is a part of God, which means it's an end in itself. The rest of creation, right? A tree, an animal, and all of creation comes from the word of God, which is a means to an end, right? Therefore, it serves a purpose. It isn't the purpose. So the soul then becomes the purpose as an end in itself, as opposed to as a means to an end, where everything else is a means to an end. Now, afterwards, it does say about creation of man, God said, he also said, let us make man. So those words are also what animates. But that's the way the soul, as it comes into the body and resides within the body, when it's invested in the body, it is then coming from the word of God. But the soul itself is from the innermost part of God. It's even greater than angels. Angels, we think, oh, I should only have my lucky angel with me. No, your soul you should only have with you. Because an angel doesn't come from the tetragrammaton of the name of God. It does come from God. Everything comes from God. Angels are sometimes called Elohim, this name of God. This name of God, Elohim, relative to this name of God of the tetragrammaton, Havaya, this is internal, and this is external, relatively speaking, which means that angels that sometimes are even called Elohim, but they come from the external aspect of God in his creative power, which is the word of God, right? Therefore, they come merely from the letters, the word that God animates them with, as opposed to the soul of Adam, of man, comes from the eternal aspect of the vivifying force of God, the innermost dimension of life-giving power that transcends letters. And therefore, it has an infinite quality. It's beyond rationality. It's not rational, the soul. Whereas everything else of creation is coming from Elohim, external, a means to an end. So it's something that we can appreciate because we can understand and think about it. Everything and we know in this world is cause and effect, right? Which means a means to an end. The cause creates an effect. So the cause is about what the effect will be. So we always measure things in our lives of, cost benefit, right? How much are you going to gain from this relationship? How much are you going to gain from this endeavor? How much are you going to gain from, this experience? That's cause and effect. That's a means to an end. That's life. That is not of the soul. The soul looks about what is the connection to the divine through this experience, engagement, connection. What is the connection that transcends the human experience and is about divine connection? Of course, it's within a human experience, but it is about that divine connection. So are we primarily a body that we have a soul and sometimes have soulful experiences? We could look at our lives that way and see everything as the cost benefit, make a calculation of everything and, what's in it. How do I gain from it? It doesn't have to be in a bad way. It doesn't mean you're manipulating, using people. But is this a good relationship that's meaningful, that's useful, that's good? for me. And that's, primarily living with a body that you want to have a good soulful experience. Or are you primarily a soul, which is a part of God, and therefore everything is about that connection to God, right? The soul is the main thing. Of course, you're experiencing it in a body because that's where you live, right? Or that's where you are. You live though with your soul. That's the question. Any questions? Any comments? So we have Lori with us in North Carolina. We have Rabab in Tangiers, Morocco. Akoy with us in Lima, Peru. Mark in Santa Rosa, California. Tim in Texas. Carmen also in Texas. Zara, Malaysia. John in North Carolina. Daphne, South Carolina. Joe in Washington, in Olympia, Washington. Liba and Davida in New York. Diane is in Arizona. Joseph in New Jersey. Julia in Pennsylvania. Cindy in Florida. Stan in London, England. Trisha is with us in Ohio. David in California. Celeste Chavez with us in Boulder, Colorado. Rusty in Texas. Silas in Brazil. Eugenia is in Calgary. And we have Martin in Toronto. Gosia is in Phoenix. So Laurie's asking a question. Didn't we learn that the Jewish people are really one organism? Our souls connect to each other. Is this how we are one, just Hashem is one? So yes, what you're saying is very true. We're speaking now about the core of the soul, and the core of the soul is coming from the tetragrammaton, right? That is beyond the word of God, even though there's letters in the word there, right? But it indicates of that, God, again, the metaphor of God blowing of him into the soul of Adam, the soul of, that's the defining of the Jewish soul. Absolutely. So this is about each and every one of us. And as a result of that, that's how we're all one. Exactly. Elohim, thank you for bringing it us, Laurie, so we could get greater appreciation and understanding. The word Elohim, the Yud Mem over here makes it plural. There's Ela, Ka is, and Elohim means plural, God's name in plurality. Why? Because, well, letters, words are plural, meaning there's many letters and many words, many creations, right? Manifesting a plurality in creation. And that's where everything in creation comes from, the word of God. Shem Elohim, denoting that. Whereas Shem Havaya is the perfect unity and oneness of God, because Shem Havaya, you have in here Hoveh, present tense, Iya, which is future tense, and Haya, past tense, right? You have that in one name, meaning it's God beyond, past, present, and future, meaning beyond time, beyond the creative process, even though it's the source of the creative process, but it's that part which is beyond the creative process as an end in itself, and hence the unifying force of oneness. That's where the soul comes from. Exactly. Thank you, Laurie, for Bring that up. Zara is with us. Diane de Borachana in Pennsylvania. Jan in Mexico. Who else? Any other questions? I don't see. Mordechai in Massachusetts. Does the ending of Elohim end in the male or the female letters? Hmm. That's a good question, and I think it would be male, but I'm not. Yeah. Deborah's with us in Kitchener, Ontario. We have Trina with us in Tova in Maryland. Joe, Brett in Pennsylvania. Alice in Baltimore, Livsha. Beautiful. All right, folks. Amazing. Rambam coming up. Wishing everybody an amazing good Shabbos. Thank you all for being here and making the journey something so special.